Can you imagine a love so powerful it was created in a single night? Can you imagine that same love resulting in not one, but 3 beautiful, tiny miracles? Now, can you imagine the floor dropping out from under you when the father of those children reveals he is not who you thought he was? This is the reality that shattered Sophia's world. There she was, in a private hospital suite, the scent of newborn babies filling the air, her heart so full it felt ready to burst. She gazed down at her 3 infant sons, their perfect faces, their tiny hands. They were here. They were healthy. They were everything. But then a shadow fell across the room. A familiar figure stood in the doorway, his presence cold and imposing. It was Michael. The man from the charity gala, the man from one unforgettable, passionate night. But the man looking at her now was not the charming stranger she remembered. This was Michael Thorne, a billionaire CEO, one of the most powerful men in the city. And his eyes, which once smoldered with desire, were now as hard as granite. "They are my legacy, Sophia," he stated, his voice low and leaving absolutely no room for argument. "My heirs. You will bring them to my estate. You will raise them under my roof. This," he said, his gaze sweeping over her and the babies, "is not a request." In that moment, her overwhelming joy was poisoned by a chilling fear. The man who helped create her greatest blessings was now threatening to turn them into a transaction. Have you ever felt your world flip upside down in an instant? That terrifying feeling when a happy moment is stolen by a shocking revelation. If you feel for Sophia and her babies, if you need to know how this story ends, you have to subscribe to Mr. Cael's stories. We are your home for powerful tales of the heart. Hit that subscribe button and join our family. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you're always part of our story time. To truly understand the depth of Sophia's heartbreak, we have to travel back in time. We have to go back to the night everything began. Picture a grand charity gala under crystal chandeliers. Sophia, a passionate and talented architectural historian, felt like a fish out of water. She was there as a guest of her best friend, her simple, elegant dress, feeling plain amidst a sea of dazzling gowns, and then she felt it. A gaze so intense, it seemed to physically warm her skin. She turned slowly, and her eyes locked with his from across the crowded room. He was impossibly handsome, but it was more than that. He carried an air of quiet command, of power held in check. When he began walking toward her, the crowd seemed to instinctively part for him. "You seem to be the only person here more interested in the Corinthian columns than the champagne," he said, a genuine smile in his eyes. That night, he was just Michael. They talked for what felt like both a second and a lifetime. He wasn't just listening to her talk about her work restoring historic buildings. He was captivated, asking insightful questions that showed a deep, intelligent mind. He made her feel fascinating, brilliant, and truly seen. When he leaned in and whispered, "Let's get out of here," every sensible part of her brain screamed that this was a mistake. But her heart, her lonely, yearning heart, overruled everything with a resounding, desperate yes. And what followed was a night etched into her soul forever. It wasn't just a physical encounter. It was a profound meeting of two souls. His touch was not hurried. It was deliberate, worshipful. He learned the landscape of her body as if he were memorizing a precious work of art. And she, in turn, discovered a version of herself she never knew existed, a woman of fierce passion and deep desire. He whispered not promises of forever, but words of adoration for that single perfect moment. When she slipped away at dawn, she left with a heart full of a beautiful, secret memory, a jewel she would take out and admire in quiet moments. She never, ever imagined that this cherished memory would become the most complicated and frightening turning point of her entire life. Life, as it always does, moved forward. But weeks later, a deep, unshakable fatigue and a missed period confirmed her deepest, most terrifying suspicion. A doctor's visit, then an ultrasound that left the technician in a state of pure astonishment. "I'm seeing 3 distinct heartbeats," the woman said, her voice filled with awe. "Sophia, you're carrying triplets." Her hands flew to her mouth, trembling. 3 babies, with a man whose last name she didn't even know. How could she, with her modest salary and her small apartment, possibly raise 3 children alone? Her career, her quiet, orderly life, none of it was built for this. In her fear, she clung to the memory of Michael's kindness, of the deep connection she was certain was real. She told her friend, who launched a frantic but ultimately fruitless search for him. "Michael who?" was the only reply. As her body grew, stretching to accommodate the 3 lives within, so did her anxiety. Who was the father of her children? Was he a good man? Would he ever want to know? The answer came in the most mundane of places. A site meeting for a historic library she was restoring. The primary benefactor, a mysterious wealthy donor, was coming for a visit. The door to the conference room opened, and her heart simply stopped. There he was, Michael. But this was not her Michael. This man was sharp, polished in a suit that cost more than her car, his eyes scanning the room with a cool, analytical detachment. And then those eyes landed on her. And then they dropped. They dropped to her very pregnant, unmistakable stomach. The color drained from his face before being replaced by a mask of icy, controlled fury. The meeting was a blur of words she couldn't hear. All she could feel was the intense, heavy weight of his stare. The moment it was over, he was at her side. "Sophia, we need to talk. In private. Now." In the stark silence of the empty project manager's office, He didn't mince words. Are they mine? The question was a brutal slap, shattering the beautiful, cherished memory into 1,000 sharp pieces. How could the man who had been so tender, so passionate, now be looking at her with such cold accusation? Can you feel the devastation, the utter betrayal Sophia must be feeling? The man she gave herself to completely, now treating her like a problem to be managed. If your heart is aching for her, share this video with a friend who loves a dramatic emotional story. Let's see how many people are on Team Sophia. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think Michael's real motives are. His ultimatum was simple, brutal, and delivered with the air of a man accustomed to being obeyed. She would move into his palatial home, receive the best prenatal care money could buy, and raise his heirs under his roof. He used that word over and over, heirs. It made her sons sound like assets, like property, not the beautiful, innocent children they were. Terrified for their future and feeling she had no other choice, Sophia, with a heart full of lead, agreed. His estate was breathtaking, a masterpiece of design and luxury. But to her, every beautiful room felt like another bar on a prison cell. For weeks, they coexisted in a tense, painful dance. He was meticulously, almost clinically, attentive to her physical needs, the most renowned doctors, perfectly prepared meals, a suite of rooms with a view that stretched for miles. But emotionally, he was a fortress, a wall of ice. He would attend every doctor's appointment, his large, warm hand often resting on her belly, feeling the babies kick and squirm. And in those unguarded moments, she would sometimes see it, a fleeting crack in his armor, a brief, vulnerable glimpse of the man from the gala. It was that tiny flicker of hope that kept her going. The true turning point, the moment the ice began to melt, came on a stormy evening. She was in his grand library, a fire crackling warmly in the massive hearth, feeling one of the babies perform what felt like a somersault inside her. A book she needed for her research was on a high shelf. As she stretched on her toes, a sudden wave of dizziness washed over her. Suddenly, he was there, his hand firm on her back, his body a solid, warm presence behind her. "I told you to ask for help," he said, his voice softer, more gentle than she'd heard it in months. He easily retrieved the book, but he didn't leave. He just stood there looking at her, the firelight dancing in his eyes, illuminating the conflict within them. "I can't stop thinking about that night," he confessed, the admission seeming to cost him a great effort. "I've spent every day since you disappeared trying to find you, and now that I have, I'm so terrified of saying the wrong thing, of scaring you away again." He reached out, his fingers gently brushing a stray curl from her cheek. "The man I was with you, that's the man I truly am, the man I want to be, the man I am when I'm with you." And then he kissed her. It wasn't like their first kiss, fueled by wild passion. This kiss was deeper, filled with all the pent-up longing, fear, and hope of the past months. It was a kiss of surrender from both of them. In front of that warming fire, they began to slowly, carefully rebuild the beautiful connection that had been lost, brick by fragile brick. The birth of their 3 sons was a chaotic, beautiful, and overwhelming whirlwind. And when the nurse placed his firstborn son into Michael's arms, the look that transformed his face was not that of a CEO securing his business lineage. It was the awestruck, terrified, and utterly captivated look of a father falling irrevocably, deeply in love. He looked from his son to Sophia, his eyes glistening with unshed tears, and the last of the icy wall around his heart shattered and melted away. He became a different man. He was present for every late-night feeding, every diaper change. His earlier demands about heirs completely forgotten, replaced by a pure, devoted love. One quiet afternoon, with the triplets sleeping peacefully in their cribs, the soft light of the setting sun bathing the nursery in a golden glow, he led her into the room. He took both her hands in his thumbs gently stroking her knuckles. "Sophia," he began, his voice thick with an emotion that brought instant tears to her own eyes. "When I found you again, I thought I was claiming my heirs. I was so wrong. You have given me infinitely more. You've given me a family. You've given me a reason to be a better man. You saw through the money and the power and the walls I built, straight to the man I truly am. And you loved him. You loved him even when I made it impossibly difficult. Please," he whispered, getting down on one knee and pulling a simple, breathtakingly elegant ring from his pocket. "Let me spend the rest of my life making you happy. Marry me." As he slipped the ring onto her finger, Sophia, through her joyful, streaming tears, said yes. She finally understood. His initial coldness wasn't a lack of feeling. It was the sheer, overwhelming panic of a man who had found everything he never knew he was missing and was terrified to his core of losing it all. Their story wasn't about a CEO demanding an heir. It was about a lonely man, a strong and compassionate woman, and the 3 little miracles that taught them that true love isn't just about one magical night. It's about choosing to build a magical life together every single day. From a single passionate night to a lifetime of shared love and devotion, their journey reminds us that families are built in the most unexpected and often most beautiful ways. If this story of love, redemption, and family touched your heart, please let us know by liking this video. It truly helps us grow. Subscribe to Mr. Cael Stories for more powerful narratives, and share your own thoughts on love and second chances in the comments below. We love reading them. Thank you for watching.